2020 was a great year for anything and everything related to bikes. As it turns out, being stuck at home and having to stay away from everyone made a lot of people decide to get outside on a bike. And this meant a lot of newcomers to mountain biking. I even had family members and friends who had no interest before reaching out saying they wanted to get a bike. While some just wanted something to cruise around the neighborhood with their kids, many were wanting to try out full-on mountain biking. All of this interest from new mountain bikers got me thinking, if I could describe the ideal mountain bike for beginners, someone with absolutely no experience, what would it look like? First of all, it'd be a hardtail. As I covered in my Why You Should Ride a Hardtail video, hardtails are great for beginners for a few reasons. First, hardtail mountain bikes come with better components than full suspension bikes at the same price point. This means you'll have a better shifting and braking experience that allows you to focus more on improving your skills. The other reason I'll mention is that hardtails help you to become a better rider. Full suspension bikes are forgiving of poor technique, while hardtails will let you know when you're doing something wrong. And if you want to be a better rider, you need to know when and what you're doing wrong. The ideal beginner bike would also have modern geometry. There's a reason mountain bikes across all riding disciplines have been getting longer, lower, and slacker. These changes have made bikes more capable in rougher terrain. While as a beginner you may be riding pretty mild trails, you'll quickly move on to more technical terrain, and a bike with outdated geometry is only going to make that terrain feel more difficult. Obviously, this is only true to a point. Go too hardcore and you're going to have a less than ideal riding experience on the easier stuff. So keep the longer, lower, slacker mantra within reason. Suspension forks in the 100 to 130 millimeter range are normally seen as cross-country or trail forks. They have enough travel to soak up trail chatter and some hard hits, but not so much that they'll make you feel like you're bobbing up and down on a trampoline. As a beginner, you shouldn't be encountering any obstacles that would call for 140 plus millimeters of travel, so shorter travel forks should be perfect for where you're riding. Even if you do end up riding harder trails with drops and jumps, 120 to 130 millimeter forks will surprise you with what they can handle. Modern frame features like dropper post compatibility and through axles will keep your bike future-proof. I mean, industry standards do tend to change pretty quickly, so maybe it's more like near future-proof. But either way, if you buy a bike that fits the big industry trend, for example boost spacing, then you'll be able to replace or upgrade parts as you need or want to. A good example of this is how Trek makes the Roscoe with what they call Boost 141 spacing. It essentially uses the same spacing as Boost, but has a quick release skewer instead of a through axle to keep the production costs down. A few years later, and Boost 141 is still pretty uncommon, and you'd be lucky to find an easy way to upgrade or replace broken parts. I'll admit a lot of people end up selling their first bike and getting something completely different as they decide they love mountain biking, but if you don't, you may find yourself looking for upgrades to make your first bike more capable. Dropper post compatibility is another really important feature to look for. Even if the frame only has extra tabs for an externally routed dropper, the ability to add a dropper post at some point is a big deal. As you begin to ride more aggressively or on steeper terrain, you'll find that being able to lower your seat on the fly will allow you to get lower on the bike so you don't go over the bars. The last thing is something I've said before, but plus and fat tires are great for beginners. The additional float and traction give you a really stable and planted feeling so you can ride more confidently. I've even found that when I'm struggling on a section of trail that is extra loose or sketchy, I can go back with plus or fat tires and attack it without too much hesitation. There is a small weight penalty with plus tires, but it's worth it as a beginner rider. Most bikes that can run plus tires can also run a narrower tire like a 2.4 as well, so as you gain confidence or change what and where you're riding, you can always switch between tire sizes. So now that I've described what the ideal beginner bike would look like, are there any similar bikes out there? Let's go over the ones that I was able to find. The Specialized Fused comes in at $1,500 and hits every point on my list. It has modern geometry with a 66-degree head angle, steep seat tube angle, and a longer reach. It has a 130mm fork, boost spacing, and comes with 27.5 by 2.8-inch tires, but can also run a 29 by 2.6. It also comes with an 11-speed Shimano Dior drivetrain with a 51-tooth granny gear, so you'll be able to climb whatever you want. Coming in at $1,380, the Giant Fathom has similar design and features as the Fuse. It has boost spacing, a 66-degree head angle, 130 millimeters of travel, and it comes with a dropper post. Where the Fathom is lacking though is in tire sizing. It can fit a 27.5 by 2.6 or 29 by 2.5, which is a tad narrower than I'd like to see on a bike for a beginner. For the price though, it's still a great option. The Fluid HT2 hits the nail on the head for modern hardtail geometry. Its long, low, and slack design will help when things get steep and technical. It also comes with the same solid 11-speed Shimano Dior drivetrain as the Specialized, has boost spacing, and a 120mm fork. Unfortunately, like the Fathom, the widest tire you'll be able to fit is a 2.6. The Fluid also comes with pretty terrible brakes, but since the bike sells at a cheaper price point than the others, you can have some extra money to upgrade things if you want. There are a lot more bikes that could go on this list, but I wanted to provide some examples of bikes that fit the mold of my ideal beginner bike and are fairly budget friendly. If you're someone just looking into mountain biking, I hope this video helps you narrow down your search because there are a ton of different kinds of bikes out there and it can be pretty overwhelming. Don't get discouraged though, just do some research and buy whatever bike fits both your intended riding style and budget and go ride. So what do you think of my list of things to look for in a beginner bike? Let me know down in the comments what you think I've missed or where you think I'm just totally off. Thanks for watching, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.